So very good evening to all present here. We're just about to begin the session. Just to give a background, we are discussing about GST exemptions, and I am T R Srinivasan, Chartered Accountant. I'll be taking you through these sessions for the next 2 hours or so. And I hope I'm pretty much audible to you. If I'm audible, just put an S in the chat box so that I can comfortably move forward. Thank you so much. Yeah, so the structure of this session would be that we are going to cover the entire set of GST exemptions, but already we had part one of discussions last week. We discussed, we have broadly grouped about 140 to 150 plus exemptions are there. All these exemptions are primarily relating to services. All these services related exemptions, we have broadly grouped it into 16 categories. And in that 16 categories, we have discussed last session about 6 to 7 categories. And if somebody is joining for this session and you are not part of the last session, it's okay, no problem, because all these are independent exemptions. So you don't have to worry about it. Of course, our recorded video is also available. You can get it accessed from the website also. I mean, we have shared it, the link also. Okay, and the structure would be, we have some classroom discussions like this, and post that there are MCQs which we have uploaded in the Google Classroom. We have about now 200, close to 200 MCQs are there. So you can evaluate yourself with the reasons of what I have understood is correct or wrong. Okay. So are you ready? Let's start with just a quick recap of the last time, what we discussed. And then we will move forward with today's discussions. Last session we had primarily focused about these exemptions. I will blow up the screen a little later. I'll just quickly run through it. So we discussed about healthcare sector. The acronym which we remembered was BHASA. Okay, so you can remember Rajinikanth movie for that, BHASA. And one extra amendment was R. So BHASA R. So that's the amendment. So you need to remember that acronym for healthcare sector. Okay, so we discussed a lot of points as part of this. I'm not going to go too deeper. You can remember or recollect if you had attended the last session. Otherwise, you can access the video and get through the same. The next part of the discussion we had was about legal services. So for legal or lawyer related services, we said they are above the law. Though they are lawyers, they are above the law. So we said all the legal services are exempt. We discussed only certain things which are taxable. You can see here only those things which are taxable. We discussed it in the last session. Then we talked about renting of immovable property sector. That's about, it is related to, we discussed the basic necessities of human being, food, shelter. So we added food, shelter, road and God. So that's what we had discussed about renting of immovable property sector. So road, God and government. That's the last point we added. Food comes from where do we live, all these things makes it different for renting. You can recollect in your mind about what we discussed. It's been a week. If you are able to recollect to some extent, that you can give a pat to yourself, it means you are on the right track. Then we talked about financial services sector like banking, insurance, etc. In that regard, we talked about FDI. So this is the acronym we used. And also we said the government's intention is to push digital banking in rural area. So in related to that, whatever amendments, exemptions they have given, we discussed this point. FDI in PSU, public sector enterprises. This is an acronym. Possibly we go through that list that we will understand. We have already gone through the list. Then we talked about associations. Associations, broadly we discussed 3-4 exemptions are there about association. There was a threshold limit we saw, one limit we saw. If you know the threshold limit, you can put it in the chat box so that those others who didn't participate also will be aware that up to some number, we said the associations don't have to pay GST. And you can put it in the chat box if you know what number is that. Okay. Then we talked about education sector. And in education sector, we talked about a lot of exemptions. And we broadly kind of bifurcated into what is provided by them and what is provided to them. So we just divided it like that. So what is provided by them, we saw a list, by education institutions and to education institutions. And what is an education institution we discussed. We also had discussed about what type of services to whom they provide is exempt. So that also was part of our discussions. So this is what broadly we discussed on educational sector. And two educational institutions we discussed about a category. So other trainings we discussed. We had talked about educational services to them. We in fact remembered way of a list, start to end services. There was a broad list we saw. So we remembered based on. So this is about education institutions. So if you remember right, we discussed till here in the last session. So we are now going to go forward today. Let us see how much we can cover today. We are about 2 hours. So I know it's very difficult to focus in the session. So as we did, we will have in between, certain polls will be there to kind of make you awake. And one interesting thing I wanted to kind of, bring you in is, please make notes. It's very important. I am going to have one more extra exercise for you today. So what you have to do is, we have about a few people here as part of this room. I want every one of you to kind of formulate one question. Now it's a reverse approach now. Till now you have been telling answers. Now your role today is to formulate one question from each topic. Okay, we are going to discuss about 7-8 topics today, the balance of exemptions. So you have to discuss for one topic, one question you have to formulate, and along with the answer. You are required to put forward that question in the chat box and let others answer for that question. Let us see how much tougher or how easy you are able to form a question and how many people are able to answer. You would have seen certain critical points, certain unique points, which others may not be kind of looking at it. So I want you to look keenly towards the discussions, identify a critical point, based on that formulate one question. It's very simple. Is this taxable or exempt? You're going to give that activity and ask whether it is taxable or exempt. Let others answer. Let's see how many of us are able to formulate a question that's going to be really tough for others to answer. So that's what we are going to see. Whoever gets the others wrong, okay, then it means you are kind of, I'm not saying in a sadistic way, but again, you'll be quite excited to see how many of the questions you formulate and others find it wrong. So we have about 14-15 people. So each of us can form one question. So you'll have 15 questions in hand. Imagine 15 questions about 8 topics. You are about 120 questions are there for you to evaluate. So there's a kind of a collaborative work we can do for today. So let's see how it goes for today. Okay. Now we will move forward today to the next topic for discussion. So first we will start we are now going to start with transport sector. So we'll be discussing now transport sector. I'll have to kind of move backward and forward so that it's quite visible for you. So we are going to discuss about transport of goods sector. On your left you can see transport. So transport sector, you have two parts: transport of goods and transport of services. So let us look at transport of goods sector. We have a small acronym which we have developed. So let's understand based on that. So how can you transport? Broadly, in reality, you can transport only through 4 ways as of now. One is road, rail, water, and air. So there are 4 ways you can transport a product. Okay. So we are going to bifurcate our exemptions into these 4 categories, and we'll also look at one more thing, which is some unique points which we may have as regards these particular categories. Okay, so transport of goods, and let me remind you, we are looking at the services by way of transportation. That's what we are looking at. We are not looking at goods as such. We are looking at the transport services in relation to these goods. Because I'm going to list out certain categories, you should not get confused. I'm not giving exemption for those goods. I am giving exemption only for the transport services of those goods. So let's be very clear on this point. Okay, so we said 4 categories: road, rail, water, and air. Of course, nowadays newer concepts are developing. You can even throw, that's what they are saying, called hyperloop. It's being built in US. But again, I'm not looking at throwing as a transportation method. We are just going to look at these 4, quite simple, right? So we broadly divided into 4 categories: road, rail, water, and air. Okay. Now let's look at each of this one by one. So let's look at road. Okay. So transportation of goods through road. Okay. Now, how can you transport through road? You can put it in the chat box. What are the various ways of transportation through road? Lorry. Somebody can take the goods and take it to another location, like human transport. Or somebody can take it through lorry. Somebody can take it through auto. Somebody can take it through tricycle. somebody can take it along with themselves. So there are cab itself we can transport. So there are so many ways. And somebody would have transported, like say some of you might be from outstation. When you want to settle or move from one place to another, you would have carried your vehicle, or you would have carried your cycle along with the the bus in which you traveled. So there are various ways you can transport the goods from one location to another on road. So the government visualized all these things. So what the government is saying is quite simple. They said all modes of transport are exempt. That is, by road, any ways you are transporting, they are all exempt from GST. So that's what they made it very clear. Okay, any mode of transport in road is exempt. That means what? Everything gets exempt. Lorry, bus, all ways of transport of goods is exempt. However, they made an exception. So it's like lawyer. So where we saw lawyer, they said everything is exempt. Only certain things are taxable. Same way for transport also, they have made it like everything is exempt, but two things are taxable. Okay. So all modes are exempt. Two things are taxable. Now, what are those two things? They said GTA is taxable. Okay. And CA. No. Why CA is here? Can you guess what is CA here? Here the term CA represents courier agency. Okay. So GTA and CA are taxable. All other modes of transportation is exempt. Okay. They made it very simple. Okay. So goods transport agency. Now, what do you mean by goods transport agency? Simply lawyer, simply the lorry. Okay. For example, you would have seen Karmariamman transport, Muttumariamman transport, Ayyappa transport, Muniswara transport. All these people are doing what? They are transporting goods for some other person. So they are basically acting as an agent. Okay. And if you see these people, you would have even seen about a link. You would have seen one app. Okay, LYNK. You would have quite seen some advertisements on that. So this app, what they do, they basically kind of transport through Kuttiyane. In Tamil, we call Kuttiyane. Kuttiyane means Tata Ace is called Kuttiyane in Tamil. So this basically they transport through Tata Ace, or so many ways of domestic lorry they transport. So all these are agencies. Why they are called agencies? Because they transport for another person. They don't transport their own goods. And one more interesting thing is, they give a document. Can you put it in your chat box? What is the evidence that the transporter is carrying the goods? What is the evidence he will give it to you for transporting your goods? Can you put it in your chat box so that I can move forward? What is the document which the transporter will give it to you for transporting the goods? You can put it in the chat box. Any answer? Yeah, one answer we have got called LR. What is LR? Okay, consignment note. Okay, consignment note is the theoretical word. E-waybill, very interesting point. E-waybill is under GST law. Okay, generally, yeah, correct, perfect. So many people have told consignment note or LR. So the answer is both are same. Okay, but consignment note is a theoretical word in GST, whereas the actual word in regularity we use is LR. Lorry receipt is the word we use. So this lorry receipt is a document they give, evidencing that they are carrying your goods. So they are called as agency. So they give you a consignment note, very important thing. They give you a lorry receipt. Okay, so that's called consignment note. And they carry your goods. They don't carry their own goods. And one of the interesting point is they may not own the vehicle. Okay, if you see link, none of the thing will be owned by them. If you see any transport for that matter, the actual lorry owner will be somebody else. And you will have intermediary who is operating like an agent, and they will transport the goods. So what they are saying is goods transport agency is taxable and courier agency is taxable. Okay, these two are taxable. All other modes of transport is exempt. Now on road, what are the other ways of transport you are having? Bullock cart, the government is saying exempt. Man-made transport, so human transport. So that is also exempt from GST. Or even we call auto. Through auto, some people transport the goods. Technically, it may not be allowed as per the Motor Vehicles Act, but still it is exempt. And then we are looking at tricycle, through which if they transport, all these are exempt from GST. Okay. Now they said goods transport agency is taxable. Fine. So that means all these lorry guys are taxable. Now the next question is there any exemption for that? So the government is saying dam exempt. Okay. So now this dam is a word we use it positively, negatively, always. So here we use it for exemption purposes. Damn it, we give exemption for all these damn goods. Okay, what are those goods which are damn and for which the government has given exemption? So the damn is broadly it's an acronym for these products. Okay, so you are looking at DAMN as the acronym. So first one is D. First D is for defense materials, disaster relief materials. Okay, so these two are exempt from GST. This is D. First one, defense and disaster. So for example, you have floods and the government gives through transportation, the government arranges for all the food packets. Defense equipment is quite obvious to know. So all these products, it's a very important product. It's a crucial products for defense is for the country. So the government has given exemption for it. At the same time, disaster relief materials have also been exempted from disaster relief. Transportation is exempt from GST. Okay. Now, one more interesting thing is, sir, disaster means what? Okay, it could be man-made or it could be natural. Okay, both are considered as a disaster for GST purposes. So it means even COVID relief could be treated as a disaster. It's a man-made disaster. So that could also be any relief materials carried forward. Now the interesting questions which are going on is, any transportation of these COVID relief materials, should that be exempt from GST or not? Okay, of course you're not going to be tested in the examination on it, but just to tell you how practically every word is important, because it says disaster relief materials. Disaster could be man-made or natural. So that's how they're saying. So even this could also be exempt from GST. Okay. Next, A represents agro products. Okay. Agriculture related products. Agro produce is exempt. So transportation of agro produce is exempt. What is agro produce? We'll discuss later. So agro produce is exempt. Food grain closely related to agro produce, they have exempt. Apart from that, certain 3-4 specific products they have given exemption, like rice, pulses, okay, mostly related to agriculture. So you will understand. And salt. So one thing you have to remember extra is salt. Okay, though it's technically not agricultural produce, salt also been given exemption. You can imagine our freedom struggle for the same. Why salt has been given exemption? Various reasons are there. Salt, there is no tax applicable, so they wanted to give exemption for salt. It's been there from 1870 onwards. Salt is a matter of dispute in India. Okay. Now all these products have been exempt. So this is A. Now interestingly, you can see one point here. What is agro produce? Fine. Food grain related to agro produce. Why they should say specifically? More interesting is rice. Sir, rice is not an agro produce. What's your view on this? Is rice agro produce or not? You can put it in the chat box whether rice is an agro produce or not. Why they are saying specifically rice is a question. Okay, this was an issue when Mr. Chidambaram was there as a finance minister. It means what we have now about it's a previous government. So it's about you can say 7-8 years are over for the same. If it's an agro produce, why they have to specifically say rice? There's a reason for it, because the definition of agro produce doesn't cover rice. Okay, there's a very interesting issues which went. I'm talking about when Chidambaram was the finance minister about 7-8 years back. The Chidambaram said, I'm giving exemption for agricultural produce. And when they give the definition of agricultural produce, what they said, we will discuss that later, but broadly, what it said is, any product derived from agricultural farm is agricultural produce. Okay, very, very straightforward definition. Now, interestingly, from agricultural farm, we don't derive rice. Okay, what we derive from agricultural farm is paddy. Okay. So issue came up. So our persons are quite experts in meaning, understanding the meaning. So he said only paddy is an agricultural produce, rice is not an agricultural produce. So much of issues came up against the government. So many oppositions came up, and then Chidambaram gave an amendment saying that rice is also exempt. He never said rice is an agricultural produce. Rice is also exempt because rice is derived from rice mill. And rice mill is not considered an agricultural farm. So they are given a specific exemption for rice. So let's be very clear. Rice has been given specific exemption because of this background. Okay. Pulses and salt. All these are exempt. So this is A. Yum represents manure. In fact, the wording used in the law is organic manure. Okay. Though for understanding, I mentioned manure here. It's organic manure only is exempt. Not the manure which is artificially developed. and then milk. So that is for M, which is exempt. Now note, there was an amendment made. Sir, transportation of butter, is it exempt or not? This is how examinations questions are asked. Okay. Now you tell me transportation of butter, is it exempt or not? Based on this understanding here, put it in the chat box. Is it taxable or exempt? Transportation of butter, is it taxable or exempt? So now the answer is it is taxable, because earlier they gave exemption for milk products also, but here they have given exemption only for no milk. So only transportation of milk as such is exempt, not the milk product. So butter would be taxable, milk will be exempt. And we are talking about branded, unbranded, doesn't make any difference. That is for the product price. As I told you in the beginning, I gave the first disclaimer. What we are discussing is the transport services for these products, not the product as such. Okay, let's be very clear with respect to the discussions which we are having now. Okay, now that's about newspapers. So M, D-A-M-N. So damn it, M. N represents newspapers are exempt. This is about specific products. Then I have also added one more point. What is 750 rupees? So the government is saying, okay, sir, all these products are exempt, irrespective of whatever amount you charge for transporting these products. Apart from that, for these specific products, for any products, they have given exemption based on amount, how much you are charging. So they are given exemption based on two criteria. One is what you are transporting, that is DAM. Second is how much you are charging, that is any goods. Any goods, irrespective of whatever goods you are transporting, if you are charging like this, you are exempt from GST. One, if you are transporting for single consignee, less than or equal to 750 rupees, exempt. Your transport charges is less than or equal to 750, it is exempt. That means what? Let's say you are transporting from Nungambakam to Kodambakam. Okay, just very much within 750 rupees you are charging. Then it means no GST for the same. Clear. Now the second interesting point they are saying is you transport for multiple people, but the overall amount you are charging for the entire transportation is less than or equal to 1,500. So how do I know that, sir? For example, you are ordering through a website. Okay, I'm giving this example, or you can also order. Let's say you are in a industrial locality. You are ordering through PRM transport. Let's say you're ordering through PRM transport. Okay. Now this PRM transport is picking up and delivering it to your location. So like you, there are 2-3 people who are just sitting beside you. Their factories are there beside you. So for them also you wanted to give all put together is transporting in a single load. So one load for 3 people is transporting. All the load put together, the charges is charging is less than or equal to 1,500. It is exempt from GST. So single consignment 750, multiple consignees rupees 1,500 rupees is being exempt. Apart from that, one more exemption, sir. I am you are a packer and mover. Okay, you would have heard of this packers and movers. So what they do, you want to shift your house from one location to another location. So what you will call some agency, they will come, they will pack your product, they will load it into the vehicle and they will take it to your new house. So in which case what happens, they are a service provider, they are transporting the goods, but they are transporting for us. Are we registered under GST? No, we are not registered under GST. So we are basically individuals, we don't do any business as such. So what the government is saying is, if the customer is unregistered individual or an unregistered HUF or or a government or government, all unregistered, okay, then no GST for the same. So basically, if they are transporting for my house, no need for GST. There's no need, because they basically don't want to burden people with GST on the same. So transportation of household goods, no GST, because the customer is unregistered. It's not just household goods. They said unregistered government also. Okay, let's say you are transporting for atomic energy department. Okay, now atomic energy department is not registered under GST. In which case that is exempt from GST, simply because it's unregistered government is also exempt from GST. So this is what the government tries to say here. So these three are based on amounts they have given exemption. Okay, I hope I'm clear on this point. So this is road. I'm talking about only road. So for road, it is dam goods are exempt from GST. That's what they are saying. And apart from that, for this transporter, if some third party is giving his vehicle, let's say I own a lorry, I just keep the lorry idle, I don't know how to use it. So you are an agency, you are coming and asking me, give your lorry to me. In commercial words, we call it as attachment. So they will attach my lorry to his particular agency. That's called hiring goods to that agency. That is also exempt from GST. So they're saying hiring lorry to a GTA is also exempt from GST. That's what they effectively mentioned in this case. So they're looking at two exemptions here on road. One is based on product, dam. Another one is based on amount. Apart from that, hiring to that agency is also exempt. So this is what we have discussed about GTA. Now let's look at courier. For courier, all transport methods are taxable, sir. There is no exemption. Only for an transport agency, GTA, we are looking at it. What is the difference between courier and transportation, sir? Courier means it's a door-to-door transportation involving a personalized service. For example, if you are ordering a parcel, what they will say is, sir, bus has come to the bus station, please come and collect it. That is parcel. Now, if it is courier, what they will do, they will personally deliver at your door. They are responsible for it. It's from one person's door, sender's door to receiver's door. That's called courier. Courier is taxable irrespective of all these products. Okay, there's no exemption for any products. They are taxable for all types of products. Only for a transport agency like a lorry or organized transporters, they have given exemption for these particular products and services. Okay, and government specifically said for there are two countries like Bhutan and Nepal. They are called landlocked countries. What do you mean by landlocked countries? You can, if you want to transport to Bhutan and Nepal, you have to necessarily transport it to India. Okay, it has to cross through India. That's called as transit cargo. For example, from Sri Lanka, you want to go to Nepal or Bhutan, okay, on road. Then naturally you have to necessarily go through India only to reach Nepal or Bhutan. So they are called landlocked countries. So in such cases, any services in relation to this particular cargo, we call cargo, basically goods, is exempt from GST. That's called transit cargo is exempt. So this is about road. They have given exemption for road. I think I'm clear with respect to road. Okay. Now let's look at rail. So rail is the second category we are going to look at. So rail is a very simple exemption they have given. Only one exemption. Simple. One exemption in the sense that because we have discussed previously, it becomes one exemption. Dam goods are exempt. So you have to imagine what is called dam. Okay, DAMN. So I hope you are able to recollect it. Disaster relief materials, and then one more D is defense equipments. A is agricultural produce, rice, flour, pulses, and even salt. Specifically, one point is added. M represents manure and milk, organic manure, and N represents newspapers. Okay, so the same products, if it is transported through train, also is exempt, right? Plus one extra product is railway equipments. If they are transported within India is applicable for all the products. It is exempt. Okay. Now you look at the interesting point. This is what both as a student and as a learner you should focus is the wordings in the law. What the government is saying is for road they never use the word within India or outside India. Whereas for rail, they specifically mentioned only for transport of these products within India, they have given exemption. Okay. So of course, rail is within India. Why they have to clarify it? That's what it is. They have clarified it. Okay. They wanted to be very clear. Rail transportation within India has been given exemption. Whereas road transportation, there's no such restrictions. So it can happen from India to outside India also. How road outside India will happen? As I told you, you can go to Nepal, Bhutan through road. It's quite possible. Even for China through specific routes. So it is quite possible it may cross to other countries. They are given exemption for road, not for rail. All these things became an issue in reality. We had one client where this issue became an important issue also. Okay. The next is water. Water is what? Through vessel, through ship, to transport. Again, only 3 exemptions are there. Just 3 exemptions. The same dam goods plus railway equipments within India only. So now water, it's becoming all the more important because for water, they will have international transport. So what they are saying is you don't get exemption for international transport. You get exemption only for your domestic transport within India. So that is for dam goods again plus railway equipments. What about ship equipments? No, don't. This is what we should not do as extrapolation. What is given in the law, we have to stick to that. For railway, they have given railway equipments. For water equipments and all, don't add. Okay, so that logic and all will not work out. You have to go as per the law only. So dam plus railway equipment is exempt. Second, inland waterways. Okay, for example, you would have seen in newspapers quite often recently that the government has now announced transportation through river Ganga in certain chunks, certain areas through river Ganga. Now transportation is being allowed. They are considered as notified inland waterways. That is within India. You have been allowed to transport through notified routes. This has been there are laws are there under which they notified. So those inland waterways transportation through vessel, through ship is exempt. Okay. So okay, sir, all this you told this is within India. This is also within India. What about international transport? Government is saying that also I am giving exemptions. So they said from India to outside India, if you are transporting, it is exempt. From custom station in India to outside India. So now let's look at this in a overall perspective. Within India, if you are transporting, these specific products are exempt. Dam and rail. Through inland waterways, exempt. If within, from India to outside India, exempt. So what is covered within India covered, India to outside India covered. Whereas one leg which is not at all covered in these three, which is outside India to India. So we have only three possibilities: outside India to India, India to outside India, within India. So within India and India to outside India, they are given. So for import, domestic exemption is given for specified goods, and exports of goods they have given exemption through vessel. But import of goods, no exemption has been given. That's what we call ocean freight in the reality. So import of goods by vessel, the vessel charges, the shipping charges is taxable. There is no exemption given for that particular leg alone. Okay, let's be very clear. So transportation of goods by vessel, that is ship, into India is taxable. Okay, in fact, a lot of issues are there in this point. I don't want to discuss it now. It comes as part of reverse charge mechanism. It's a separate area. But now you need to understand transportation of import goods is taxable. Last point is air. So through air, if you are transporting, again, interestingly, you can see here from custom station India to outside India means export. Just like water, they have given exemption. From outside India to India is also exempt for air. So very different exemptions they are given. For vessel, they are given exemption only for export. Whereas for air, they are given exemption both for export as well as for import. So that's the linkage we need to remember in mind. So that is something which we need to kind of remember. So this not available for vessel import means the exemption is not available for vessel imports through ship, but through air the exemption has been given for the same. Okay, so let me complete it now. This is transport of goods, road, rail, water and air. Road, all are exempt. Only GTA and CA are taxable. And in GTA CA also we saw for GTA they have again exemption for specific letters. Dam are taxable, I mean exempt. And then in terms of rail, same thing. Dam is exempt plus railway equipments. Water, dam is exempt plus railway equipments. Air, dam is not exempt. They are not. I have not listed dam itself. I just only said export and import alone is exempt. Okay. You may have to again kind of go through this point, but now you will have a clarity on what you are supposed to see for transport of goods. Okay. Let me go transport of passengers. Then we will look into the discussions on certain polls. We have a poll post this point. If I discuss transport of goods separately, transport of passengers separately, you will answer correctly because you will not get confused. So I want you to go through transport of passengers also. Let's go through this. And then we will get confused with the polls because people will start using transport of goods exemption for transport of passengers and vice versa. So that confusion is what we want. The more confusions we are having, the better clarity we will get. Okay. Now let's look at transport of passengers. I repeat, we are looking at passenger transport services, not the passenger as such, not the any other activity. We are looking at the service of transport of passengers. So we are looking at about again 4 categories: road, rail, water and air. In fact, last time also we saw about hiring. The same point here also is covered about hiring. Okay, there is hiring any vessel, means of transport is exempt. So let's look at road, rail, water and air. then we'll come to this. Now let us look at road. Now you tell me what are the ways you can get transported from one location to another location in a road. You can imagine. Let's look at how do you transport. You get transported in a road. Very simple. We get transported. You transport by our own vehicle. No GST because there's no charge for the same. Simple. It's our own product, our own service. Second, we use government bus. Okay. Now the government bus, if you see, let's say I'm going from one place in Chennai, let's say Nungambakam, so I'm going to Anna Nagar. There are two places in Chennai. What will happen from Nungambakam to next stop? Let's say it goes to Loyola College. From Loyola College to next stop, it is Anna Nagar. Then Anna Nagar round Anna to next stop. Like that, there are multiple stages. This is what we call stage carriage. You would have seen for one stop 10 rupees, two stops 15 rupees. Like that, it's called stage carriage. So it's called motor vehicles law says stage carriage. So this is called regular bus. Okay. Sometimes you have point-to-point buses. Okay. You would have heard of point-to-point buses like from Chennai to Mumbai, Chennai to Bangalore, Chennai to Hyderabad. Like that, point-to-point buses is there. Now, what is the difference? What is the unique difference? This is also a stage only. For example, if I'm going from Chennai to Bangalore, it will go first from Chennai, it will start, then it will stop in Vellore. From Vellore, it will stop in Hosur. From Hosur, it will go to Bangalore. That is also stage carriage only. But what is the difference between stage carriage and point to point? There is a subtle difference. What is the difference? Now, in a normal government bus, what you do, you get into the vehicle and you take the permission. That is, you take the ticket. Whereas in a stage carriage, this is called stage carriage. Now, in a point-to-point bus, let's say you're going from Chennai to Bangalore, you normally reserve a ticket. So that is called as contract carriage. It means before getting into the vehicle, you normally produce your identity, or even maybe on getting into the vehicle, you reserve it by giving your identity. It's very important. There's a difference. When you go to a stage carriage, you don't tell your name, sir, I'm going from this place to this place, only you will tell. You will not talk about, sir, my name is this and I'm coming from here, address, nothing you will tell. That is stage carriage. Whereas in a contract carriage, it's called contract carriage, where what happens, there's a contract. What is a contract? There is a passenger who tells his name, address, etc. While he getting into the bus, and then you will get a pass, you will get a name, ticket in your name, reserved ticket. So that's called contract carriage. So this is another point. So first is bus. Second way of transport is auto. Third way of transport is taxi. Fourth way of transport is on road. What else you are having in on road? Largely, that's about it. Okay. So let's look at each of these exemptions. So we are looking at four kinds. Simple. Stage carriage, contract carriage, auto, and taxi. Four. Simple point. Bus, auto, taxi. Simply put it. Now, bus is called, bus itself, as I told you, point-to-point bus, local bus. Now, point-to-point bus is called contract carriage. I'm giving in a very simplistic way. And stage carriage is basically your local buses. Okay. Now, what the government is saying is, local bus itself, you would have seen AC bus, non-AC bus. Now, Chennai, of course, non-AC buses are now substantially reduced. But again, the government says non-AC bus, local buses, no, these are, we are looking at exemptions. So it's not taxable, it's exempt. It means AC bus is taxable, non-AC bus is exempt. And what about point-to-point bus? As I told you, Chennai to Bangalore, etc. Don't take Chennai to Bangalore as a point. Wherever buses where you take a predefined ticket, that's called non-AC contract carriage. So in that again, non-AC. So if you are going from Chennai to Bangalore with a reservation, if it's a non-AC bus, GST won't be there. You can check next time when you are going in the bus, you are seeing a ticket. If you are booking through, let's say, Red Bus or whatever online app you are booking, just check whether GST is being charged for the same. If it is a non-AC point-to-point bus, no GST. Again, AC point-to-point bus, GST will be there. And there also the government has said two specific things, no GST, but for these cases, GST will be there. So if it's a AC bus, GST will be there. You would have seen some of the buses where they would have printed Incredible India, Mahabalipuram, see Mahabalipuram, like that. Tourist buses will be there. So what the government is saying is, even if these buses are non-AC, but if they are meant for tourism, then still GST has to be paid. No exemption for the same. Non-AC tourist bus is also taxable. And of course, AC tourist bus is anyway taxable. That's straight said and done. Non-AC would also be taxable. Now you also look at charter. You would have seen some companies on charter for Ashok Leyland, on charter for Infosys. So it goes for that particular company. Government buses, but even specifically used for certain companies. Even government planned to use such charter buses for COVID-19 situations also. So those chartered buses would also be taxable. This is what the government is trying to say. Okay, I think I'm clear on this point. I will give you time to ask your questions at some particular point. Okay. Next, auto is not taxable. So if you, let's say if you're going through auto next time, of course, Auto Ola doesn't give you bill. But let's say if you're going through Ola Auto, next time when you are seeing the bill, check whether they are putting GST for the auto charges. Okay. They won't do that. Okay. You can check the bill. Don't see the receipt. Just check the bill which they give. Auto, there is no GST for the same. Meter taxis is no GST. We're looking at non-GST situations, no GST for the same. Now, whether Ola, Uber, where you use it through phone, you book it through phone, whether it comes a meter taxi, no. Let's say you are getting down in Central Railway Station. There will be something called prepaid taxis. Now, this prepaid taxi, what they will do, you want to go from Central Railway Station to KK Nagar. They will say 300 rupees. And of course, they will have a meter fitted. In airport, you would have seen in Tamil Nadu, it will be black and yellow. So that shaped cars, that painted cars. So they are all meter. You'll have a meter in that. So those metered cabs are exempt from GST. It means Ola, Uber are not called meter cabs. They are called as radio taxis because they are connected through telecommunication device, which is a phone. Don't imagine radio means only radio. Telecommunication devices. So they are taxable. So next time when you are traveling through, prepaid taxi, just check whether they are putting GST or not. Of course, they won't do that, but still you can check it. Whereas Ola, Uber will be putting GST on the same because they are not metered cabs. They are a cab aggregator, and more importantly, they are connected through the mobile devices. So they are called radio taxis. So this is about road. And I repeat, we are talking about transportation of goods as a kind of passengers through this category, road, over. Now let's look at rail. So how you get transported in rail, passengers? AC train, non-AC train. Simple. Okay. So very simple point. Non-AC second class is not taxable. Metro rail, monorail is there. They are also not taxable. Simple. Okay. So if it is AC or first class, it will be taxable. That's about rail. Very simple discussion for rail. Now water again simply is there, but you have to very, very carefully watch. People do make a lot of mistakes in reading it, okay, especially the law. Inland waterways, as I told you, Ganga to specific locations, I showed you some time back, that's exempt. The second one is an interesting point. Let's say you are going from Chennai to Andaman Nicobar Islands, okay, you are going through a ship. In such cases, what the government is saying is, if you are going like a normal passenger, not as a tourist, then it is exempt. So any public transport within India, not meant for tourism predominantly, is exempt. Okay, that means cruise ships. If you are going through a cruise ship within India, taxable, sir, no exemption. What is exempt is only if it is not meant for tourism predominantly. The word predominantly is there. It's an interesting point. I'll ask you a question on this later. I want, as I told you, you to prepare one question. Each of you to prepare one question. Let's see how many of us are preparing an interesting question, which others find it a little difficult to answer. Okay, so that's about waterways. Exemption is there. This is about inland waterways. Then the next point of exemption for air. Again, very simple point. See, these northeastern states are there. Can you tell me what are the northeastern states are there? Nagaland, Tripura, Manipur. Then you have Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, so Meghalaya, and all these states are where public Mizoram. Yeah, so I missed that one. So Mizoram. All these are basically states where the air traffic is very, very less. You don't see many people traveling there and going, except for tourism. So what the government says is, any flight which is starting or ending in this northeastern states, no GST for the same, for those flights for transport of passengers. Plus, technically it's not a northeastern state, but still they have covered West Bengal. West Bengal has two airports. One is in Kolkata, Another one is Bagdogra, one separate airport is there. So Bagdogra in West Bengal has been given exemption. So that's one thing. Second, in Chennai, in Tamil Nadu, we have Trichy, we have Tirunelveli. We have in fact airport in Thoothukudi, sorry. Okay, so Thoothukudi, Tirunelveli, Madurai. So they are all called regional connectivity airports. Means you have the main airport which is in Metro Chennai, and through various regions they are connecting it through separate flights. And you don't see so many flights. You see very rarely 1 or 2 flights operating in a day. So they are called regional connectivity airports, and these are all funded through a separate scheme of the government of India. So they are called regional connectivity airports like Trichy, etc. Any transport of passengers to these airports from or to them is also exempt for 3 years from the time they start their operation. Let's say Tuticorin airport started 2 years back. So from that day, 3 years, any transport happening there back has been given exemption. Okay, so there are a lot of transport like they are now building up Jharkhand. So inside Jharsuguda, so there are multiple small airports they are building. In fact, you will be aware in the news, the government is building about another 50 plus of airports across so many different parts of the country. They are all part of the regional connectivity scheme of the government of India. There's something called viability funding. So there is a funding scheme is there through which they do it. That is being given exemption for 3 years from the time they commence their operation. So this is about road. It's quite easy to remember. Rail, water. One critical point is public transport, predominantly not for tourism. Then air is simple. Northeastern regional connectivity airports. Then the last point is hiring to these people, hiring to these transporters. So the government is saying is, if you are hiring a 12-seater vehicle to, let's say, transporter, STU means state transport. For example, in Tamil Nadu, the transportation is carried out by NTC, Metropolitan Transport Corporation, Madurai Transport Corporation, Tiruchi Transport Corporation. Like that, the government authorities, the government undertakings are doing this transport bus. So if you have a bus, you are giving it on lent to these undertakings, it is exempt from GST. That's what they are saying. So one more point they have no added is a recent amendment now, hiring of 12-seater electric vehicle to panchayat or local authority. Local authority means panchayat, municipality. You are hiring to them, giving on hire to them is also it's a recent amendment made in the law. So if you are a student, it's a very important question for your examination also. So it's about road, rail, water, and air. So that's about it. So we have now seen about transport of goods. You remember transport of goods, important thing, road, rail, water, and air. Dam, you should remember. And road, rail, water, and air here, it's quite easy to remember it based on the discussions we had. So now let's look at some questions based on this. In fact, I have one more thing called sports. Anyway, I'll take it up as part of the next discussion. So too much we will not be able to name. So let's look at some poll. So we are looking at now transport of goods and passengers. I'm going to launch the poll now. So let's be ready. And I'm also going to give you about, along with the poll, I'm going to give you another 3-4 minutes of time so that you can develop one question based on the discussions we had. Let's see who is developing a very interesting, at the same time, not so easy question. Okay, let's launch the poll now. I hope 1, 2, 3, let's launch the poll. Yeah, so the poll is now open. So I want you to answer now, quick. See, unless mentioned otherwise, all these things you can assume it as a goods transport agency. Okay. I hope you have noted whatever discussions we had. It's better that you note it down so that you can easily answer these questions. All these are assumed to be GTA unless mentioned otherwise. The first question is transport of goods from Indira charities to an orphanage by road. What do you think? Is it exempt, taxable? It's a charity. See, okay, see, people are very emotional, okay, especially we people are very emotional in the sense we attach unnecessary emotion to even exemption. Okay, we think, okay, orphanage, charity, okay, government. So these are all the background assumptions we have. Government means no GST. I have seen a lot of questions being asked by people, not just by the students, but even in reality. Sir, government, sir, should I pay GST? Okay, so that's an emotion we attach. Okay, so we don't have to be so emotional even towards government for GST purposes and all. So we can be emotional for so many other purposes. So let's not get into this. We will have to look at based on the list of exemptions we had discussed. And imagine there is about 44 exemptions between these two categories. You can see on your left, 21 plus 23, 44 exemptions are there. We just finished off with this just about two specific discussions. So let's, second question, transport of goods for unregistered individuals billed for less than 600 rupees. Very interesting point. I did discuss it with some examples also. It's a recent amendment made in the law. So let's look at how many of us do that correctly. The next one, transport of gases through pipeline from Afghanistan to India. It's a very interesting point. We were discussing about 4 modes of transport: road, rail, water, and air. Now this is 5th one. I said we can even throw the hyperloop. Technically, this is also another version of hyperloop, pipelines. So like gases, petrol, liquid chemicals, they pump it through from the port itself. For example, if oil is imported, imagine, do you think that every time they will transport a huge quantity of oil, do you think that they will only transport it through lorry? Of course not. They will transport it through predefined pipelines from the port itself. From the port they will pump the oil and it will reach the various gas stations also. It's quite possible and it is being done there. In fact, recently IOC has done that for about 5,000 crores gas pipeline. So don't get guided by that. So I repeat, unless mentioned in our discussions, every other thing is taxable. Let's be very clear. Unless mentioned in our specific discussions, every other thing is taxable. The next, the fourth one, I have 2 answers now. I want others to participate. About 15% have answered. So once we cross 75%, we will discuss the answers also. Transport of goods on a consignment, transported in a single carriage, billed for rupees 3,000. One carriage, 3,000 rupees. All these are basically related to road. When nothing is mentioned, assume it as goods transport agency. But again, certain things we have to understand in the context. Next one, air freight charged from XYZ Limited for transport of goods from Dubai branch to Sydney branch. It's a very interesting point. It is going from one location to another location. Both are outside India. Very unique situation. But again, repeat, whatever we discussed is about exemptions. In that exemptions, we saw certain exceptions, which is taxable. All other things are taxable. Let me be very clear. Whatever I discussed is only the exemptions. Apart from that, everything else would be taxable. That's you have to understand. Next one, transport of passengers from Chennai to Bangalore in non-AC coach. When you say coach, it represents basically a train, okay, with 3 or 4 stops in between. The next one, 7th question, operation of cruise ships. Of course, cruise ships is not meant for normal transport. It's meant for tourism. Let's be very clear. Okay, there are some 1 or 2 tricky questions which is not mentioned here. I will have to discuss that separately. You can put it there itself. International transport of passengers from India to other countries. International transport of passengers from India to other countries. If I have mentioned it in the list of exemption, then it is exempt. Otherwise, it's taxable. Simple. Okay. Don't get guided by international, local, all those things doesn't matter. Next point, amount received from central government towards transporting passengers terminating at regional connectivity airports. So this is something which we discussed just recently. Last point, domestic transport of passengers from Bangalore to Sikkim. So we have 3 answers now. I want others to answer quickly. So at least once we cross 50%, we will answer it. So we are about 38% now. 46%. %. 66. So because it's encouraging, I want, of course, to go up to 100%. Okay, parallelly, those of you who had completed, I want you to just form one question on transport of goods. Just form one question on transport of goods. On maybe we'll take 2-3 of your questions and let's see how many of the others are able to answer it correct. Okay, so I just wanted to form one question on transport of goods. Just form one question but saying that whether the particular transaction is taxable or not. Let others answer it. So shall I end the polling? If you say yes, I will end the polling so that we can discuss the answers. Parallelly, I want those of you to just form one question. It could be quite interesting to see how people read. The question is whether carrying the bicycle by metro rail is taxable or not. First thing, are you allowed to first take bicycle in the metro rail? Okay, let's alone leave the legality or illegality of it. But let's look at whether it is taxable or not. Answer is recently announced. I said, okay, thank you so much. Now the carrying, okay, what the government says is, let's look at 2-3 examples and then I'll come to this example. Okay, you are getting transported. Let's say you are going from Chennai to Madurai in a flight, and the government will normally say up to 7 kg baggage is allowed. So it means you can carry laptop, you can carry your personal clothes, etc. in a baggage. Okay, up to 7 kg they will allow. More than 7 kg, the government will say, the airlines will say you have to pay for every 1 extra kg, you have to pay about 500 rupees, 1000, etc. So the first question is, let's say I'm going from Chennai to Sikkim, northeastern state, and whether that would be taxable or exempt. Okay, the basic transport charges is exempt. What about the additional baggage charges? So the wording in the law is, it says transportation of passengers from one place to northeastern state with or without accompanied baggages, with or without accompanied baggages has been given exemption. So whatever you carry, if the airlines is going to charge something for that, even that is also exempt. If your first activity, transport, is also exempt, then that is also exempt. Okay, that's about it. Now there's about transport. Now coming to metro rail. For metro rail, what they told us, transport of passengers by metro rail is exempt. They didn't talk about accompanied baggages. So unless they give exemption for accompanied baggages, and first we have to see whether a cycle comes in a baggage. Okay, assuming if it's a baggage, still the exemption will not apply because they didn't use the word accompanied baggages. So that would be taxable. Okay, I think I've answered the question. So whatever charges they collect for the bicycle, unless otherwise it's being given specific exemption, it will be taxable. Now this exemption is not there. For transportation of passengers through flight, accompanied baggage is also exempt. Okay, so now let's look at the answers now. It's time's up. So we will have to answer the questions. So I'll now share the results. There may be some 1 or 2 changes in the answers if I had to. I have to thank my team, Kanmani, Padma, Shri and Abhinaya, and Shobita. They helped in framing, or in fact supporting in developing these questions. First question, transport of goods from Mrs. Indira Charities to orphanage by road. So the orange line represents the correct answer. So the answer is taxable. Okay. I have not given any exemption. Where is the exemption for charity? Nothing has been given exemption for charity. We said any goods transported through GTA is taxable. Okay. So other than those dam goods. So there's no mention about the dam goods here. There's no mention about the charges here. So in which case we will have to take it as taxable. The answer is taxable. Charity exemption and all will not apply. However, okay. Okay, some of you might have given exemption assuming that Indira Charity is an unregistered person. Possible. Okay, it's quite possible. But again, if you see, there also they said unregistered. What they have used the word? It's unregistered trust. They have used the word. Sorry, unregistered individual or unregistered HEF. That's what they have mentioned. Or government is what they have mentioned here. So even in their cases, you can see specifically here, unregistered customers, unregistered individual, HEF, government or government agencies. That's what they have mentioned here. So as such, they still don't fall under this particular category. So that would be taxable. Okay. The next one, turnover of goods for unregistered individuals. We have 90% people giving the correct answer. The answer is exempt because we specifically discussed that as exempt. Less than 750 is exempt. Unregistered individuals anyway exempt. Okay, so even if any amount is there. Next one, transport of gases through pipeline. There's no specific exemptions we discussed in this context, so that would be taxable. So 78% have got it right. It's taxable. And then transportation of books on a consignment transported in single goods carriage billed for an amount of rupees 3,000 is taxable. There's no exemption for books. I have not mentioned in the damn list, and charges is more than 750 and even 1,500 rupees. So that would be taxable. Next one, air freight charged from XYZ Limited for transport of goods from Dubai branch to Sydney branch. We have a mixed response, about 50-50% I would say, because we 44%, 56%. Technically speaking, there's no specific exemption given in this context. The government has not given any exemption specifically in this criteria. So even if it is from one to another, technically supply itself is happening outside India. Okay, going by the exemption list, it is taxable. However, I need to kind of analyze one point. I mentioned this taxable here because I want to analyze this point. There is a specific point which says that if the supply is happening from one location to another location is completely outside India, then it may not be taxable in India. Okay. In fact, place of supply will be treated as outside India. The customer is also outside India. Then in which case it will not be taxable. So there is a separate discussion is there on it. So as of now, the correct answer based on the overall understanding of the law is exempt. But again, if you have got it taxable or exempt, it's okay because this is something which I have not specifically discussed it. This would come as part of a discussion called what is a supply, what is not a supply. Okay. So to summarize, the correct answer for this question is it is exempt. Though I mentioned taxable here, it is exempt only. Okay, because it's outside India. Separate exemption given under supply. What is excluded under supply? There it is given, not under the exemption list. So it's okay if you have got it correct or wrong in this context. The next one, everybody has got it correct. So non-AC coach is exempt. Only AC coach is taxable. Operation of cruise ship, straight away we said it is taxable. There's no exemption for the same. International transport of passengers from India to other countries is taxable. There's no exemption for the same. We discussed on this point. And then amount received from central government towards regional connectivity airports is exempt. It's not taxable. We discussed specifically on this point about transportation of passengers. Then last point, the domestic transport of passengers from Bangalore to Sikkim is exempt. Anything ending or starting is exempt. Okay, whether the transport ends or starts from the northeastern states, it is exempt. For example, irrespective of the amount may be whatever. Entire amount is exempt because it is ending in northeastern state. So that Sikkim is part of northeast state. Once they asked Guwahati. Okay, many people have got the answer as taxable. Okay, but they forgot to understand Guwahati is part of which state. Can you put it in the chat box? But many people have got it wrong. They said it is taxable. Okay, so in fact, the examiners have to say that people also have to know general knowledge along with the GST law. Okay, Guwahati is part of Assam. So that is also a northeastern state. So that is also exempt from GST. Okay, some people have got that wrong in the original, of course, examination I'm talking about. So that is also a northeastern state. That's about it. So this is about the list of exemptions we have for this sector. One question I wanted to ask in this context: if I am transporting, let's say, from Chennai to Andaman Nicobar Islands. So that's about it. I think I have discussed the answers now. Shall we move on? Now, Chennai to Andaman Nicobar Islands, I am transporting through vessel, through ship. In that, there are 100 people going, and each person I am charging, let's say, 1,000 rupees. Let me be clear. 100 people are going, each person I am charging 1,000 rupees. In that, 5 people are tourists. Okay, whether this transport is taxable or not. So I am the transporter of passengers by ship. I am transporting from Chennai to Andaman 100 people. Each person I am charging 1,000 rupees. So totally 100 into 1,000 is 1 lakh rupees. Now in that 100 people, 5 people are tourists. Now how do I know? I got the information from them. They said I are a tourist. Okay. So whether this particular transport is taxable or not, number one. If it is taxable, the next question is how much value is taxable? Will entire, if it is exempt or taxable, both questions. If it is exempt, how much is exempt? Whether entire 1 lakh is exempt or only 95 people are normal people, 5 people are tourists. So 95,000 is taxable, 5,000 is exempt. What is your answer? You can put it in the chat box on this point. Okay. Shall I have the answers in the chat box for the same? I hope I'm very clear with the discussions. So yeah. So it says 100 passengers, 5 passengers are tourists, 5,000 rupees. And 95 passengers are non-tourist, that is regular public, 95,000 rupees. How much is exempt? Whether the entire amount is exempt, 5,000 is exempt, 95,000 is exempt, entire amount is taxable. Okay, the answer is correct. It is exempt fully because the wordings used in the law is it is not predominantly for tourism. That's all. It never says tourism will be taxable, non-tourist is exempt. Perfect. Everybody has read it perfectly. It says because it is not predominantly for tourism, it is exempt. Okay, so it's designed for tourism, it is taxable. Not predominantly for tourism, it has been given exemptions. Right. Perfect. So that's about it. So with this, we are done with this particular sector, which is about transport and passengers and goods. Now let me have 1 or 2 audience questions. Okay, now that you need to ask the question, it could be your doubt or it could be your question, whichever way. Let others answer it. Okay, so let us have 1 or 2 questions. Anybody who wants to have your questions, I wanted to put it in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself. You can ask this question. Both ways, okay. We'll just have another 1 minute and then we'll move forward. Okay, so can I have your questions, please? Anybody who wants to ask a question? Let's see how many of the other people are able to get it right. What percentage are getting it right? How many of the things which you saw and others have not seen, the wordings? Okay, can I have questions from you? Or you can unmute yourself and also answer, raise the questions. Is anyone who wants to ask a question? I'm still waiting for it. Yeah, so we now have the first question. Guru Priyan has asked a question. So what is asking is, Mr. A owns 10 lorries. He provides transportation of goods service to company A. The freight cost of the consignment is rupees 600. Okay, Mr. A owns 10 lorries. Okay, okay, fine, I understood. He provides transportation of goods service to company A. The freight cost of the consignment is rupees 600. Whether it is taxable or exempt. Now, Guru Priyan, you have to tell me, is it 600 is for what? Whether it is for per lorry or whether it is, you are trying to say it's 600 into 10 lorries. 6,000, you want to say like that, or whether it is only 600. So others can also answer based on this. What about others answer? I hope you can see that in your chat box. You can answer it also. It is exempt. Divya says it's exempt. Exempt. So it's okay. He says it is 600 per consignment. So what he's trying to say is the A transported maybe 10 lorries or 10 times. Let's be very clear. Okay, that's what he's trying to say. Okay, in 1 month, A transported using 10 lorries or 10 times 1 lorry, doesn't matter, to company B. He is putting in the bill 10 consignments into 600 rupees is equal to 6,000. So now would that be taxable or exempt? I'm making it a little more, clear. What is your answer now? Okay, now that I made it clear about 10 consignments, whether it is 10 lorry, doesn't matter, 10 consignments you can take, and each consignment is 600 rupees charges. What is charging for transporting each consignment is 600 rupees. How much would be exempt? Or whether the entire amount is exempt, or would it be taxable? So what's your answer? Quick, I want your answer so that we can move forward to the next point. Is taxable? Taxable. Fully exempt. So we have now got 3 answers. Guru Priyan, you have made question interesting in the sense now that we have got differing answers. The more differing answers you get, the more you score points. Okay. So fully exempt. So we have 2 answers. People saying exempt. 2 people are saying taxable. Okay. Any other answers? I want 1 or 2 people to participate, and then we will move on to the next question. Meanwhile, others can prepare their own question. One last question, then we'll move forward. Okay. So let me break the answers. The answer is it is exempt because the number is 600 rupees per consignment. In the sense that if there are multiple consignments, when you see multiple consignments, it is not different. When multiple consignments at a one transport, then 1,500 rupees. If there are multiple transports being done, okay, each consignment, each transport is one consignment, and then 750 rupees, less than 750 rupees, it is exempt. So that's what we are trying to say. So the exemption which is applicable there is at a time in one transport, I am transporting for multiple people or multiple consignments, then it is 1,500. If I am transporting multiple consignments, yes, but on multiple different dates, different transport, then everything will be separate consignment. Everything will be single consignment only. So up to 750 exemption will apply. So that number will be exempt. Even if in the bill, the total amount is 6,000, it is still exempt because it is 600 rupees per consignment. Okay. So when we said multiple consignments, it's a good question. In fact, it is not multiple billings. What it means is you are at one transport activity at a stretch, you are transporting multiple consignments, then it is 1,500. If you are doing multiple consignments on different dates, even if it's the same customer, it will be treated as only single consignment. Okay, let's be very clear. So it is exempt. Maybe others, if you have questions, you can put forward separately. We'll discuss that. Any other question? Any one last question, then we'll move forward. Any other person who wishes to ask a question? So Guru Priyan, it's a good question. Back to you. I'm not sure which answer you thought of, but this is the correct answer. Okay, so yeah, the exemption is applicable for GTA also. So the question that is asked is whether it's applicable for a GTA. We've been discussing that for GTA only. Okay, so GTA only it is been given exemption. Next question is all transportation of such goods for a single consignee, correct? But at a single stretch. Okay, if it is multiple times of transport, then each time will be considered as separate consignment. When it's a single consignee at a time is what we need to understand, not multiple transport. Single transport is what we need to understand. Any other question? So I want one more person to participate. One more question, then we'll move on. Quick, quick, quick. Anybody else who wants to ask a question? Okay, the question is if the owner himself does the service, then still that will be treated as it's called goods transport operator. For all practical purposes, that is also goods transport agency only. If they are giving LR, then they are goods transport agency. Still, that is exempt. Starting and ending in regional connectivity airports for 3 years. It's exempt. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'll move on. Any person who wants to ask one more question, I just wait for one more question. Okay, so till I get the next question, I'll move on to the one more question they've asked. Transport of mineral and iron ores from installations in continental shelf to land mass. Okay, what is continental shelf? Basically water. Okay, you would have seen oil being extracted in the sea. Okay, that's called continental shelf. Let's be simplified understand. Okay, from the sea, they are extracting mineral or oil and they are transporting it to the land through the land, that is through basically water, which it should be through vessel, of course not through road. Would that be taxable or exempt? That's the question. Okay, so through a ship, you are transporting the goods from the sea to the land, taxable or exempt? I wanted to answer to everyone. That's okay. Don't just feel about correct or wrong. Absolutely no issues. It's not about correct or wrong. It is just about getting it. How many people will be a little interesting to see. Okay, the answer is taxable. Yes, it is taxable. It is not considered as an inland waterways. In water, we said only dam goods are exempt, and also the inland waterways is exempt. So it's not coming under inland waterways. So this would be taxable. Okay, so that's about it. We'll now move on to the next part. I want you to kind of revise it so that you will remember it better. So this is about transport of goods and transport of passengers. Question is logistics service provider collecting transport charges is 1,000. Maybe you can make it a little more clear so that others can answer. I'll move on to the next part. I'll just reserve the question so that we can complete more points. So we now move into the next industry, which deals with sports and entertainment. Okay, that's the next area we are going to discuss. There may be some small ways to remember this area. So sports. So basically what we are looking at with respect to sports, how in sports industry they earn income. Can you guess how in sports industry, there are two people involved. One is the persons who is playing the sport, and second is the person who is arranging the sport. Two categories. Okay, person who is playing the sport, person who is arranging the sport. For example, playing the sport is a person cricketer, and person who is arranging the sport is the Cricket Control of India, BCCA. Okay, Olympics is playing the sport. Olympic Association is arranging the sport. So you are being given exemption for both the categories. Person who has been playing the sport and arranging the sport. Both people have been given an exemption in this regard. So in this regard, there are 10 exemptions, 10 parts to that. Okay, let's look at it. Quite easy. It's quite easier only. We don't have to worry too much on this point. They're all very usual exemptions they are given. But again, the exemptions are very, very simplified exemptions they are given. One is FIFA World Cup has happened in India. I'm not sure how many of you are aware of it. It happened in India. FIFA Football World Cup happened for under 17 in India. Not now, in 2017 it happened. So whatever services provided by the FIFA, Federation of Indian Football Association, International Football Association. So this FIFA services provided by them, services provided to them in relation to this World Cup is exempt. Okay, men already over. Okay, that was in under 17 2017 it happened, and for women it is supposed to happen in 2020. Okay, because of this situations now it's not happening. So FIFA related activities, World Cup related activities exempt. Okay, it's quite understandable because first time an international event is happening in India, so they wanted to give exemption related to football. So football is exempt. Simply you can remember. Second is national sports federations. If they organize any events, okay. Now you tell me how as I told you, there are two categories: person who is playing the sports and person who is arranging the sports. Now the person who is arranging the sport is this national. So these are all people who are arranging the sports. How they get money? Can you tell how they will get money? The person who is arranging the sports, how they get money? BCCA is arranging cricket in India. How they get money? Yeah, excellent. Mira answered 1 point, sponsorship. Okay, one way they get money is sponsorship. Perfect, perfect. Like they will get sponsors for promoting that event, etc. What is the other way they'll get money other than sponsorship? TV rights. Excellent. Good, Bhumija. It's a good point. TV rights they'll get. Very good. They get advertisements. They will allow. You would have seen in cricket matches in their four boundaries and all, people would have advertised. Whether you see or not, that will be there across. Okay, so many places they have it. Floodlights they'll have advertise, etc. So advertisements, good point. Honestly, I didn't think about TV rights or advertisements. Okay, not immediately struck my mind, but yes, you're right on dot. So sponsorship, TV rights, advertisements. What else? How else they get? Oh yes, of course, sale of ticket. Okay, that's the first income. But of course, they get major income from the other three activities like sponsorship, TV rights, and advertisements. Sale of ticket is like, they don't make big money there, but of course, yes, they make money. So these are the ways they make money. So if they have to be given exemption, there will be exemption for all these incomes. Okay, they are earning these four incomes. So if at all the exemption has to be given for this. So the intention of the government is they want to give exemptions for those events which are kind of organized by recognized people, recognized bodies. If they do these events, they want to give exemptions. Okay, so FIFA, you can understand the logic, they have given exemption. Second is National Sports Federation. Is basically a federation which is approved by the Ministry of Sports and Youth. Okay, so whatever sponsorship services provided by them, so if they are getting any sponsorship income, they are being given exemption. Okay. Very simple point. And the sponsorship income they get for what type of events? Very interesting point. Okay, now it should be for an event where teams represent any district, state, for example, inter-district competition, interstate, Tamil Nadu versus Punjab, like that, inter-zone, country, India versus Pakistan, or like that. Only those are given exemption. Okay, what is this? Why is this suddenly they are saying this point? So National Sports Federation, okay, maybe the National Sports Federation is a separate body which organizes different sports in India. Of course, I have given the link there just for you to see the link. The National Sports Federation organizes lots of sports. There are a lot of affiliated bodies are there for this National Sports Federation. So all of them have been given exemption. Kabaddi, in fact, tennis ball cricket match has been given exemption. Just for your point, you have tennis ball cricket. That has been a separate association. Okay, maybe I'll share you this list of exemptions. You will be quite surprised to see, is there any such sport like that? Even I was surprised to see such in sports, which I was not even aware that we had such kind of sports also in India. And there are sports like that available. So this is the list of national sports federations. So whatever they organize events, they arrange sponsorships, that income is exempt from GST. Athletics, you have an association. Okay, Atya Patya. Okay, Atya Patya. Okay, I'm not sure how many of us even know. I mean, honestly, I was not aware till I really saw this list. I was not aware of a game called Atya Patya. Okay, there is a game called Atya Patya. You can go and just watch the YouTube on how they play. Very simple game, quite interesting game. So there is a separate association for it. So they have been given exemption. If at all somebody is sponsoring that Atya Patya game at inter-district level, so that income which the National Atya Patya Federation receives, no GST for the same. Sir, whether cricket is covered? No. Cricket is not covered in this list. Okay, I hope you are able to see my screen of this National Sports Federation. Cricket is not in this National Sports Federation. Okay, you don't have cricket. You have badminton. You can see ball badminton, baseball, basketball. Like a lot of people are billiards, snookers, bodybuilding. All these, there were association. All these people arranging basically all those things which presently in India are not popular. Except now, maybe to some extent, badminton is getting popular and football, but largely these are all not popular yet. Cycling, chess, cycle polo, deaf sport, equestrian, like all these associations, if they arrange any event and if at all there is a sponsorship they are able to mobilize, they have been given exemption for the same. Just watch out Atya Patya. It's a new, whether it is, it's a very unique and very simple game. I'm not sure whether you are searching it now itself. So all these have been given exemption. You can see here lawn tennis, Malakkamb, okay, and that's a game, motor sports, netball, para sport, etc. There is something called tennis cricket. You can see here, Tennis Ball Cricket Federation of India. They have given exemption for tennis ball cricket, but not for the actual cricket. Okay, so actual cricket is not coming in this list. Okay, you don't have cricket other than this. The actual cricket as such you will not see. Tennis Ball Cricket Federation of India has been given exemption. Just to give you an understanding of where you have to see. I've just taken this from the website. So this is about how the exemptions will operate. Okay, so that is for national sports federations if they organize. So I told you said there are multiple ways you generate income: ticket sales, then advertisement rights, etc. Nothing is given exemption. Only the sponsorship part is given exemption. Mostly they get only sponsorship. You don't get much of ticket sale there. After all, as of now, we need to kind of evolve in these sports. So it's very early for them to get sale of rights, etc. So they give an exemption for sponsorship. Okay. Next one is an interesting point. So we have now seen organizers. Okay, organizers have been given exemption in the first two. Okay, only the two things for the organizers. Now the next thing is for the people who are participating, who are playing. So this is for the two things. It means what? Now if cricket match is played, okay. If cricket match is played and BCCI sells the telecast rights to Star News, Star, ESPN like that, it is taxable. There's no exemption for the same. What about the sponsorship they receive? It is taxable. No exemption for the same because BCCI is not in the National Sports Federation. So it will be taxable. IPL, no exemption. It is taxable. There is no specific exemption given in this regard for the same. So this is for the organizers. Okay. Now let's look at the, more on the sports, like sale of tickets. It will discuss that under entertainment activity. We'll again discuss that point. Maybe I could have put it here, but I just mentioned it under entertainment also. Okay. Next one is about by the players. So people who are performing in that. Now the people who are performing in that, again, who are all the performers in a match? Let's say you take a cricket match. I would take cricket match, but you can take a hockey, football, whatever you want. Who are all the people inside a hockey match or outside the hockey match? Who are all related to the hockey match or cricket match? Can you guess the number of roles in relation to a cricket match? Who are all there within the ground and outside the ground, but related to the cricket? Don't tell ball boy and all. I'm talking about somebody who is actively, professionally inside the cricket ground playing and outside the cricket court supporting. Can you tell number of people who participate? It's there actually in the list is there. One is the player who plays, the bowler, the batsman, etc. Second is the umpire who is in between, doing all the panchayat. And then you have referee, maybe referee, umpire, both are the same. And then you have the coach who is the trainer of the cricket team or the team. The team manager. You would have seen Indian team coach is not Ravi Shastri. Indian team is called director or team manager is Ravi Shastri. Okay. So in fact, and then you have team manager. Now tell me one interesting profession which was not covered in this list but related to the sports. Tell me one interesting point, one interesting position which is not covered. Yes, perfect. Commentator is not covered. Correct. Commentator is not covered. We have one client who is a cricketer and also a commentator, Tamil, English, etc. Okay. That is not covered. So it means he is taxable. Okay. There is no exemption for the same. To RSB, what is called RSB? Okay. So I have my friend. So it's RSB here represents recognized sports body. Okay. RSB is recognized sports body. The list is mentioned here. You can see the list here. Recognized sports body. Okay. So if the services are provided by these players to recognize sports body, it has been given exemption. Okay. What is it, sir? We had one client. We have also now also is a cricketer. And what happens, because he's a cricketer, he has to sign the contract with BCCA. And BCCA will have an annual contract. Will say, for providing your services as a cricketer, you will get based on your grade. Grade A, Sachin Tendulkar and all will be in grade A. Then Murali Vijay and all will be in grade B. And upcoming youngsters will be in grade C, like that. So based on your grade, you will get 1 crore, 2 crore as your player fee, like that. Okay. So he will get, for match fee, he will also get overall fee. Okay, for being associated with BCCA. So they are all basically services. Okay, now Dhoni, okay, or Virat Kohli, whoever it is providing services to whom? BCCA. Okay, let's be clear. You may be emotional, as I told you, like previously. They may be providing services. They are providing services to India. No, they are providing services to BCCA as far as law is concerned. Okay, so whatever contract fee they receive, match fee they receive, all those things are basically for their contract with BCCA. That income is not taxable. That income is exempt, provided BCCA is a recognized sports body. I have not yet seen whether BCCA is recognized sports body or not. I am only making an assumption BCCA is recognized sports body. So whatever services these people provide to BCCA is taxable. Sorry, exempt. That's what they are trying to say. It's very interesting point. So commentator services would be taxable. And interestingly, commentator will be not paid by BCCA. It will be paid by the channel. It has been taxable. But all these services are taxable. Sorry, exempt. Sorry. Now, the next interesting point is, sir, what about, we had one another client. He is a physio for the Indian team. Okay. Now, this Indian team physio providing services to BCCA, he had a contract with BCCA. Would he be taxable or exempt? What is your answer? Indian team's physio, would he be taxable or exempt? He is getting money from Indian BCCA. Is it covered into this list? Would he be taxable or exempt? You can put your answer in the chat box, yes or no. Exempt. We had this question from him initially when service tax was introduced. We had this question, and it was continuing now in GST also. So one answer we have got, it is exempt. Any other answers for Indian team's physio? Not just Indian team, any team physio for that matter. I have one of my friend. She happens to be the physio for Indian hockey team. She was asking me whether whatever consultancy fees she is from Indian Federation of Hockey Association, would that be taxable or exempt? Okay, it's a recognized sports body, no doubt in that. But whether is it covered into the list which is mentioned here? Because it should be two things. One, it should be recognized sports body. Second, it should be in this category: player, referee, umpire, coach, team manager. So I'm now getting answers as taxable. One person has answered as exempt. Okay, so we have the other people have taxable. Okay, so initially when this issue came up, he was called Indian team physio. Okay, it was taxable because it was not in the list. Simple. The list doesn't talk about physio. The list doesn't talk about all these guys. It's not taxable. It was even called as physio only. Indian team's physio is what he is called as. Now what happened? If you carefully see the way they word it now, I mean, these are all finer aspects, but you should see these things. They don't call him as a physio anymore. Can you tell me what is the alternate word you can use to bring them in the exemption list? People are, see how they just play with the words. Okay? They use a different word now to bring him under the exemptions. Can you guess what is the word they use considering the list here? Considering the list here, what could be the right word you can use so that he could be even brought under exemption list? Oh, perfect. That's all. That's about it. They made him as a fitness coach. That's all. Simply they changed the word. From physio, it was there. We had a client like him. So they changed the word from physio to fitness coach. Because what they told, coach is exempt. What coach they have not told. Of course, it's not a railway coach for sure. But they are not told whether it is a bowling coach or a batting coach or a fitness coach or meditation coach or mental health coach or whatever you call. Coach is exempt, sir. Okay. So it means what? Simple is also exempt. So that's so they reworded it to bring it under exemption now in GST. But before that, it was taxable. Okay. So let's look at how the simple change in the words, but accordingly they would have changed the roles and descriptions, etc., would make things taxable. Okay. That's about how this works. All these people providing services to recognized sports body is exempt. Okay, so which means the Sindhu playing for Indian Badminton Association, exempt. She played for India. All these are okay, but from where she gets match fee? From the Indian Federation of Indian Badminton Association. So that is exempt. She is part of Indian Badminton Association, so that is exempt. Now note, these people might also get brand ambassador fees. They may get advertisement fees. That and all is not exempt because they don't provide services to the BCCI for that. That's a separate independent company from where they get services. That will be taxable. Now in this, we need to understand, they are saying 2 points. Note the 2 points here. There are two, I've mentioned 2 comments here. 2 points you need to note. One, they have to provide services related to a recognized sports body. And it should be a recognized sporting event. Both should be satisfied. Okay. What is recognized sports event? It is organized by a recognized sports body. And the participating teams or individuals should represent a district, state, zone, or country. You have to immediately, once I say this, something should strike you. Okay. The moment I say this, something should strike you. Whether this event is taxable or not, it should strike for you. Okay. You should, there's a very popular event which happens every year in India, which is now postponed now because of this COVID and all. It should strike you because there was a lot of issues which are going on related to that event. So much of notices have been issued now in the department on this particular point. In service tax onwards, this particular notices are going on now. We do represent few other cases on certain cricketers on these points. Okay. So can you tell what is that which strikes to you immediately? Kabaddi. Okay. Very interesting. Madam doesn't watch the cricket, I think. So Kabaddi. What is this Kabaddi, madam? What is it you are talking about? Can you make the, more, maybe the full name of the event or something which you can mention? It should be a recognized sport event. So there are 2 conditions. The services should be provided to a recognized sports body and it should be a recognized sporting event, both. What is recognized sporting event? It is organized by RSB, recognized sport body, and the participating team should represent a district, state, zone, or a country. It's very important. IPL, correct. So madam is talking about Kabaddi Premier League, KPL, okay, IPL. Now in case of IPL, what's happening? Is it a recognized sporting event? Question. First condition, it should be organized by a recognized sports body. Let's assume BCCI is a recognized sports body. Yes, BCCI only is organizing IPL. Condition 1 is satisfied. What is the second condition? They should represent a state, district, zone, or country. Now you tell me Chennai Super Kings, which state are they representing? Can you guess which state are they representing? Chennai Super Kings? Don't get emotional. This is what I have to tell you. Don't get emotional. Don't play emotions here. Okay. They don't represent any state here. They just represent India Cements. That's all. They just represent a particular company called Chennai Super Kings Private Limited. That's all. They represent India Cements. They represent maybe Srinivasan, who is the behind India Cements. So they don't represent any state. Okay. They just represent that particular company. That's all. After all. So they are not considered to be, IPL is not a recognized sporting event. It is organized by BCCI, but it is not, participants do not represent any state. They may say Chennai, Hyderabad, Bangalore, etc. All these are for emotional purpose, okay. But on legal parlance, they do not represent any person. They just represent, after all, them. That's all. Simple. So it means, let's look at another example. You would have heard something called Ranji cricket. Have you heard of this Ranji cricket, which happens within India? From Tamil Nadu versus Punjab, Tamil Nadu versus Haryana, like that they play. That is considered as a recognized sporting event. Why? It is organized by BCCI. It's a recognized sports body. Second, it represents, the participants represent a district, state, or a zone. So it is exempt, but not this one. Okay. So that's, I think I'm clear on this point. Any doubts, you can put it in the chat box. We can discuss that further. So that's about, so IPL, in fact, there are so much of notices issued now by the GST department to all these IPL players that it's not a recognized sporting event. So you have to pay GST or service tax for this. It's there from service tax itself. We have to pay service tax for the same. So that's how they have issued notices. And of course, the issues are going on now in this regard. In fact, we had another issue, a very interesting issue. We had one client. What happened? He is playing for somebody called Vidarbha Cricket Association. Now, Vidarbha Cricket Association, he gets money from Vidarbha Cricket Association. Vidarbha Cricket Association is a one particular association which is approved by BCCA, but it is not directly BCCA. So he was not eligible for exemption, because only if he gets money from BCCA, it is treated to be approved, recognized sports body. So he was not getting from BCCA, he was getting from one association. Though he might be representing a state, it doesn't matter. For example, you are representing Tamil Nadu, you are getting money from Tamil Nadu Cricket Association. It's not a recognized sports body. BCCA only is recognized, not Tamil Nadu Cricket Association. So these are all the finer aspects of the practically makes lots of difference to the players, to reality. We will see a lot of situations like this. Okay. Next one, recognized sports body to recognized sports body is exempt. BCCA providing services to ICC, International Cricket Association Council, vice versa is exempt. If they get some money, it's exempt. That's all. Then what about, okay, so I think now we have made it clear. Two parts of exemptions are there. One part is for the organizer and another part is for the persons who are playing. Okay, both we have seen in this regard. Last part is coaching. Okay, something which comes out of the natural point, coaching. What about coaching in this? We had one player who is organizing a lot of cricket camps. Very interesting amendment the government made here. What earlier it was saying is, see how this is all relevant if you're a student for the exams also, is what is the amendment they made is, earlier they said training or coaching in sports is exempt. So we had one client who is a partnership firm. They are commercially running a coaching center. So they have been given exemption. But now what happened? They made a very subtle amendment in GST. When they brought, this was there in service tax. When they brought to GST, they made one small addition, that's all. By a registered trust alone is exempt. Now, tell me how many people will be doing through a registered trust? Very rare possibility. If at all they do a registered trust, that alone has been given exemption. So coaching in sports, arts or culture by a registered trust alone is exempt. If earlier it was any person, now only through registered trust in GST they have been given exemption for the same. One of the question we got from a client. So this is a school. Okay, you would have seen schools at this time last year. They used to organize a lot of chess camp, yoga camp, and you would have seen cricket camps. Schools themselves will organize for the students. What do you think? Is it taxable or exempt? Put the answer in the chat box. Do you think it's taxable or exempt? Yes or no? Schools organize cricket camps. Is it taxable or exempt? Sometimes the school organize, we have one answer, exempt. And note that it may not be for their own students also. You would have seen it will be open for any person who is in that locality. Anybody can participate, not just one for students. If it is only for students, then we saw this under education services. Any service by school to its students are exempt. But now here it is not just for the students, they also do it for so many people, outsiders also. That anybody can participate in their cricket camps. Sometimes they organize dance program, dance camp, music camps. They're all arts, okay, culture. Okay, we say culture means how to be a good person. So even yoga to some extent is part of culture. So what do you think? Is it taxable or exempt? The answer is it is exempt. Okay, so this is how the finer aspects of the law works. Why is it exempt, sir? Because you should not get guided by the word called school. How a school will be run? We have to see the legal entity of the school. For example, let's say there's a school called Vidya Mandir School. Okay, school. It is not coming under registered trust, so taxable. No, a school can be run only by a trust. Okay, let's be clear. Unless it's otherwise up to some 5th standard alone, they can be run otherwise as a trust. Okay, once they are a proper school, they have to be run with a charitable trust only. They have to be registered, of course, in the background. So that would be, because it will be still considered as a registered trust only. Of course, I'm giving how the practically these things works, so it will be still exempt. So you should not get guided by the word called school, but rather you have to see what is the legal entity of that particular organization. Then you decide. For example, if a summer camp is organized by a college, colleges can be only a trust. They can be run only by a trust. So it will be still considered as a registered trust. And what do you mean by registered trust? It's not GST registration, it is income tax registration. Can you tell me which section of the income tax deal with registration of a trust? Put it in the chat box. Of course, it's not related to GST. Can you put it in the chat box which section of the income tax deals with registration of a trust? Well, 123 AA. Yeah. Okay, perfect. It's 12 AA of the income tax deals with registration. So if a trust is registered under 12 AA and they are organizing all these summer camps, it's exempt. Okay. So don't go by the nomenclature, you have to go by the legal entity which is behind it. Okay. One of our clients asked this question. Sir, we are conducting a foreign language course for various people, not just for our students. It's open to all, working people. They want to teach them on German language, foreign language course we are conducting. It's a trust, it's a college. So they are run by a trust only. So it's a registered trust. And they are coaching in foreign language. Is it taxable or exempt? What's your view? Foreign language training by a college. So you have to see two limbs, sir or madam. What is it you have to see? One, it should be a trust. Second, it should be a training or coaching in arts, sports and culture. Okay. So it should fall into these two. Okay. College is a trust. So you have to see whether foreign language is coming in arts, sports or culture. Very interesting questions. We get a lot of such questions practically. Any other answers? Do you want to answer? We'll anyways move forward. So this is about sports. We are done with sports now. So I think you must be clear. Organizer of the event and the player. So player, we told only if it is related to a recognized sporting event, recognized sports body. Organizer, only FIFA and the National Sports Federation has been given exemption. So the answer to this question, it is not sports, it is not a culture, it is not arts. Foreign language is not considered to be an art. Okay, it is a skill. Okay, it could at least be considered as an vocational course, if at all. Otherwise, it is taxable. There is no exemption given for the same. Okay, because it is not considered under these three categories. Okay, the next part we will move ahead. What is recognized sports body? You can see here, International Olympic Association, IOA, two times I have mentioned. International Olympic Association, Indian Olympic Association. SAA is Sports Authority of India, SAI, Sports Authority of India. NSF is just now we saw, National Sports Federation. NSPO is National Sports Promotion Organization. That's Federation Promotion. Then last point is a massive point. It's a very massive point. It covers so many things. A federation or a body which regulates the sport at international level. Let's assume International Hockey Federation and its affiliated federations or bodies regulating the sport in India. Indian Hockey Association. Are you clear? Like FIFA, international body which regulates the sports, and Indian Football Association is approved by the FIFA. Then both these are considered to be recognized sports body. Federation which regulates the sport at international level and which approves the sport in Indian level. ICC, international body. BCCA is the Indian body which regulates the sport. In fact, one time there was a very interesting discussion. There was Indian Olympic Association and Olympic Association of India. There were two organizations. Okay, there was a fight between these two and government cancelled both their recognitions and they were never recognized sports bodies for some time. Okay, so there were a lot of such things that happens in the reality. So this is about how the sports sector works. I think I'm quite clear on this. I wanted to frame some questions, so we'll discuss that. The next one is about entertainment sector. So if you feel that's an overload, I will, the last few, then we will close it for today. Tomorrow would be on valuation on GST side. Entertainment sector, okay, live or dead. Okay, that's the acronym, we remember it. Okay, whether you are entertainment can be done by live people, live animals, dead animals. Now, dead animals means basically what do you mean by old, ancient, dead animals? Means museum, basically. Okay, that's what we can keep in the background about museums, etc. So it could be two types of services, two categories again. Same, just like what we saw for sports. Somebody who organizes the event, somebody who plays in the event. So organizer, player. Organizer, what you will get revenue? You just know said sponsorship, sale of telecast rights, advertisements, sale of tickets. Okay, so we are now looking at only tickets. We talked about sponsorship, so very carefully worded. So sale of ticket right, television rights and all, no exemption. Nowhere they have given exemption for any of these things. Very clear exemption they have given. They said, so organizer of the event gets money by way of sponsorship. He gets money by way of sale of tickets. And what they have given exemption is only for sale of tickets, not for sponsorship services. Okay. Now, what exemption they are given for sale of tickets? So they said admission tickets for these places are exempt. Admission tickets for, so that means basically admission ticket is a word I used it in a simple understanding. The wording used in the law is basically what is admission ticket? It is a right of admission, right of access. That's all. So basically the wording used in the law is right of access to these places are exempt. Instead of admission ticket, they use the word right of access. Now, what is this right of access? So there are two, access to what? To some place. Simple. As I told you, one is the organizer, another one is the performer. Now we are looking at the organizer, the person who organizes the event, or the person who manages the place, organizes the place, theme park, whatever. So there are two kinds of places you are looking at. Places to see live or dead animals, to see live or dead animals. Places to see performances of live animals. Okay, so you can just, I'm just using this to have simple understanding. If that makes it complicated, better. Admission tickets basically to these guys or to these people or to places are exempt. Simple. Okay. Now let's look at places to see live or dead animals. To see, where do you see live or dead animals? Can you put it in the chat box? Where do you see live or dead? Dead means old, ancient. Live animals. Places where you see live animals. The two categories are there. Okay. Where do you see live animals? Basically places. Zoo. Then where else do you see? Zoo itself will be called in different names. Zoo means many, zoo is basically an identified location. Then sometimes you go in between the mountain. What is it they call it as? In between mountain and all, you will see certain identified zones. What is it called as? You would have heard one word for it. Mudumalai or Kerala. There are a lot of identified zones. Okay. Forest. Forest, Mudumalai forest, logically correct, but trekking, trekking on the that is not a place to, okay, trekking is a activity, sanctuary, that's what I was about to say. So that place name I want, okay, not the activity you do there. National parks, correct, perfect, okay. So all these national parks, Vandalur Zoo, correct, Zoo Sultan, correct. Zoo covers all zoos, perfect, okay. So Vandalur Zoo or national parks, whatever zoos, so places where you see these live or dead animals is basically two places. One is the zoo, tiger reserve. In India, tiger is famous, so tiger reserve. National park, Shimoga National Park, like that. So Lions National Park, National Park. Okay, Udumalai means Elephant National Park. So that is exempt from GST. So the admission tickets to all these people are exempt. All these locations is exempt. Dead animals where you see museum. Okay, museum is exempt from GST. Of course, not just animals, protected monuments. For example, you are visiting Taj Mahal. Taj Mahal is a protected monument under Archaeological Survey of India, okay, ASI or UNICEF or UNESCO, UNESCO. Okay, so even they maintain the various monuments, historical monuments. For example, in Tanjavur, you have this famous temple, Brihadeshwara temple. So many historical monuments are there. If they are charging any ticket, Taj Mahal, somebody wants to enter, you have to pay about 500 rupees if you are a foreigner. Indian means you have to pay 45 rupees or 50 rupees. So that is exempt from GST because they are protected monuments. So that is exempt. Okay. So that's about, so it means in a temple, let's look at this example. In a temple, if they are collecting, let's say they are collecting fees. What about parking charges to these places? That's a question Nandini has asked. No exemption they have given. They have given exemption only for protected monuments access. Only the access to them. right of access to this place is exempt. So parking charges is not, they're not giving right of access to that place. So that is an independent activity that would be taxable. Simple. Okay. However, if the same parking is outside religious precincts, we saw this specific discussion when we discussed about renting of property. Religious precincts of the religious place less than a specified amount is exempt. So there we discussed about parking charges. That is exempt. But so which means basically, to make it simple, if you want to enter, let's say Tirumala Tirupati, they are charging you some money. Okay. Okay. Technically speaking, that is a right of access to a specific place. They may collect it as a donation to avoid the complications of GST. If I have to make it as a right of access to a location, it's a contract, right? What is the contract? They are giving you 300 rupees pass. So what you will do with 300 rupees pass? You can directly go and connect at some location and you can reach, you can see the God faster than ordinary ticket. So ordinary ticket means takes 3 hours, means you have 300 rupees ticket, you can reach in 1 hour. So there's a contract they are giving you. Technically, right, that is a right of access to a place. Basically, that's also a ticket. Basically, any ticket is that way. Now, if Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam is coming under protected monuments, then exempt. Otherwise, technically, it may be a trust, but it is still considered as a right of access to a place where you have been charged something. It's a commercial activity. We will, when you see business, I'm not going to go too deeper into that now. So broadly, it could be taxable. Okay, that's what we are trying to say here. Okay, so there are a lot of repercussions on this. Okay, one interesting question asked: what about aquarium? For example, in Chennai, you have something called Eco Park. Okay, near Chekpet. Not necessarily. There's so many aquariums are there. Okay, so aquariums, whether would it be covered or not? Okay, so broadly in the principles of zoo, tiger reserve, and national park, and sanctuary, that is also covered. So it would also be considered as maybe sort of related to marine zoo. Okay, so still that would be considered as exempt for all practical purposes. So still is a marine zoo. That's also, but that is still exempt. Okay. Now let's move forward. So this is about places to see these people. So any amount they charge is exempt. Now places to see performances of these people. Now I repeat, we are looking at only admission tickets. Okay, we are looking at admission tickets. Okay, I'll answer other questions a little later one by one. Then they'll ask children park one by one, snake park, and tiger park. Ella park mein zoo la vandrum. Okay, so ellarume example da varum. So whether it's a small park or a big park, it's a park or a zoo only. So in principle, it's a zoo where they are maintaining people. I'm saying maintaining animals. So that is still will be considered as part of it. If you are going to a pet shop, then it could be taxable. I mean, if at all they charge. But again, otherwise it's exempt. Okay. Next one, places to see performances of these people. So right of access to, where do you see performances of live animals? Not just animals. It could be, when I say animal, I also assume human beings. It's also a living animal only. Perfect, circus. Okay. So circus. It could be circus. Circus is where animals will play. Then dance, theater, live animals. Okay, human being is also a social animal. In that context, I have mentioned at this point. Okay, so theaters, perfect. Now, dance, drama, theater, where you see performances of these people. Okay, music, awards function, pageants, beauty pageants, etc. Sports, whether recognized sporting event or we saw some time back. What is recognized sporting event? India versus Pakistan match is approved by BCCA and ICC. So that is a recognized sporting event. Whereas Hyderabad, what is it called? Chennai Super Kings versus Hyderabad, whatever, Hyderabad Biryanis, whatever. So that is IPL. That is unrecognized sporting event. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Both will be coming under this category: recognized sporting event or unrecognized sporting event. Okay, it doesn't matter. Planetarium. So this recent amendment. Planetarium is a recent amendment. It was not included earlier. So they have included planetarium here. So all these access to these places, the ticket cost is less than or equal to 500 rupees is exempt. That is the distinction. So previously, any amount is exempt for those zoo where you see animals, where you see the performance of these animals, up to 500 rupees is being given exempt. So if you are going to, let's say, one kacheri, 450 rupees exempt. More than 500, entire amount is taxable. There is no basic exemption of 500 and all. Entire amount is taxable. Okay, that's how It is been understood by the department. There are some controversies on that side. Let's not get into that now. Okay, this is about how the places to see access is covered. The last today's last discussion for now. So I think I cannot discuss the rest of the points. Last two are there. We will have to take it to some other session. Okay. Now, persons who perform these services, the people who performs these services, the artist who performs these services. So first is the ticket, and the person who performs services gets some performance fees. Let's say you are going to AR Rahman concert. Okay, it's a music concert. So for getting into the concert, you are going to charge. Correct. So that entry ticket, that is up to 500 exempt. You are going to go for match up to 500 exempt. Now after getting into the AR Rahman, will get some money for performing in that. He'll get some money from the organizers. Let's say behind the woods, like that one company is arranging. South Indian Film Association, they are arranging one event. So they collect entry ticket, that is exempt. And in that AR Rahman is performing. So the performer, what is he given exemption? So they are saying dance, music, theater. Okay, in these three, if somebody is performing in a dance, music or theater, somebody is performing, then they have been given exemption, is what they are saying, provided they are classical dance, classical music, classical theater, okay, or folk or classical, both are covered. I have to just modify a little bit here. So it could be either classical art forms or classical or folk, both are covered here. But not otherwise. Okay, so classical or folk dance, classical or folk music. So what is this? Classical or folk? Sir, whether AR Rahman music, put in your chat box. Do you think it comes under classical music? Is it a classical music? AR Rahman music, Ilayaraja music. Is it a classical music? No. Okay. Perfect. Correct. So what is classical music? It's will not get into that definition. I did a little bit of research on it. It went on for about 1 hour to do research on classical music, whether they went on to the Western music. The definition of classical, non-classical is not related to India itself. The moment I type the word classical music, it goes to Western, in fact. So Western classical music, Western modern music, that's how it goes. Okay. Hip hop and all is modern. I mean, then Beethoven and all is classical. But in India, maybe we can say Carnatic music is classical music, like that. Hindustani music is classical music. But whereas film music and all is definitely not classical music. Okay. So if A.R. Rahman is getting money, it is not covered under this exemption. Whereas if let's say Sudha Raghunathan is getting, doing this, he'll be given exemption. Or interestingly, I think one this who is this famous singer is that who sings a lot of romantic songs. It's quite famous now. His song. He's also a classical singer as well as a film singer. Maybe I forgot. So I think maybe you can put it in the chat box that also. Siddh Shriram, perfect. Okay. Yeah, Siddh Shriram, Krishna okay. So the Siddh Shriram, what he does Carnatic singing also as well as film song also. Say he goes and performs in a A.R. Rahman concert. He gets money, taxable. He goes and performs a Carnatic kacheri, okay, Carnatic concert separately. Then whatever money he gets is exempt, provided it does not exceed 1.5 lakhs rupees per performance. 1.5 lakh rupees, up to 1.5 lakhs per performance does not mean per song. It is per event, or I would say at a stretch, one continuous performance is doing that single performance. It's not one song, 1.5 lakh rupees, not that way. So per 1.5 lakh rupees, they have given exemption for Siddh Shriram, not Siddh Shriram, anybody who's doing classical dance, music, theater. Now you tell me hip hop, whether it is given exemption? No, because it's not classical. Bharatanatyam or Kuchipudi, Kuchi Lamapudi, so all these will be considered as classical art forms. So they are given exemption up to 1.5 lakh rupees per performance. So let's say in somebody married. So what they will do, they will arrange one, for the reception, they will arrange somebody to do a Carnatic music. So if they charge 1.5 lakh rupees, less than that, exempt. More than that, entire amount will be taxable. Okay. So it's about less than or equal to per performance. That's what they told. However, this is not applicable for brand ambassadors. It's a very interesting point. What do they mean? This last point, we'll conclude with this. What do they mean is, for example, you are appointing Shriram as a brand ambassador. Okay. Now he a particular brand, let's say Hammam soap. Sid Shriram is a brand ambassador. So what he does is Hammam soap is launching one new product. So in that launch show, as a brand ambassador, he goes there and he sings a Carnatic music. He's getting paid about 1.5 lakhs for that. Would it be taxable? Because he's going there not as a Carnatic singer alone, but rather he's going there as a brand ambassador. So even if he does a Carnatic performance, because he's a brand ambassador, been appointed as so, would be taxable. That's what they are trying to say in this case. So brand ambassadors 1.5 lakhs exemption would not apply. Okay. So the next question is, somebody is charging 1.75 lakhs. What will be the taxability? Entire amount will be taxable. So it says if it does not exceed 1.5 lakhs. That is the word they have used. Not up to 1.5 lakhs. If it doesn't exceed 1.5 lakhs, exemption will apply. There are, every place, the wordings of the law is not the same. There are lots of changes are there. But of course, if you are a student, you need to pay good attention. And if you are a learner also, you need to pay good attention. But you need to, I'm just highlighting those points very clearly at this moment. Okay, so this is about how the Carnatic music. One interesting question came. We had one client, singer, and what happened? She charged about 3 lakhs. In that 3 lakhs, for her it is only 1.4 lakhs. Balance 1.6 lakhs is for the tabla guy, for the mridangam guy, for the all the other support segments. Would that be taxable or exempt? That's the question that came. What is your answer? What is your view on this? Would that be taxable or exempt? So the answer is so long it is billed from each and individual person. Okay, tabla guy has to give a bill for his amount. Separately, they have to give a bill. If this guy gives an overall bill and in turn she settles to them, taxable because it will cross 1.5 lakhs. If individually tabla guy gives one bill, yeah, individually, even if the split is given, but the bill is raised by the singer, saying the singer raises a bill, and under that she gives a breakup. Under her name, she raises one bill. Still, it is taxable. Okay. However, if the singer gives separate bill, tabla guy separate bill, then it would be exempt because each performance will be considered separate. Okay. So when I say it's performance only, okay. So one interesting point is performance, not performer. So all these will be considered as part of single package performance. Okay. So they have to give individual bills from each of them. Otherwise, it would be taxable. Okay. This is about how the entertainment sector works. So the organizer, person who organizes, person who organizes, person who plays. So this is what we need to know in this regard about how this entire industry works. So we will now discuss some MCQs. We will close for session today with this. Okay. So I'll just hide this one so that it can be easy for us to kind of know. I hope you have noted it down. Please do frame 1 or 2 questions. We have about 15 minutes today. I'll close it with the next poll. Let me launch the poll now. So we will close it today with this poll. So I will have a little limited time for this. So I'm going to launch the poll. I just want you to answer in quick 3 minutes because we don't have much of time. So starts now. Is the poll visible to you? So let's quickly go through the questions. I hope you would have answered by now. You know, it's long. I wanted to quickly finish it off. So first one is services provided to BCCI by an individual as a player, referee, umpire for participating in a sporting event organized by BCCI. Services provided by BCCI by an individual as a player, referee, umpire for participating in a sporting event organized by BCCI. So I think it's enough to discuss this point. The next one, I repeat, whatever we are discussing, by the way, is exemptions. Okay, let's be clear. Next one, services by an individual such as selectors, commentators, curators, or technical experts. Now you can see how many professions are there. So maybe many of us are only commentator. Now you're looking at selectors. What happened to these guys? We have Indian selectors team is there. Curators, somebody who manages the pitch, technical experts, etc. Receipts from sports academy to coach young players. Now we don't know whether sports academy is trust or not. Let's be very clear. So based on whatever assumptions you take, you can answer. But you have to take the right assumption and take the correct answer. Next one, receipts from acting as brand ambassador for corporate clients. Service by a recognized sports body to another recognized sports body. I think it's pretty clear. It's very easy points. Vijay, who is an actor by profession, has charged rupees 1,20,000 for appearing in a TV serial. What will be the taxable value under GST? Vijay is an actor by profession. Now look at the exemptions and answer it. Next one, entry ticket of rupees 4,800,000 per person was charged for a Bollywood awards function. The amount of rupees 4 lakhs is it fully taxable? Is it taxable over and above rupees 500, or is it fully exempt? None of the above. So the last point, I'll close with that. Next one, services by way of admission to museum, wildlife sanctuary, national park is exempt. Consideration received for the admission fee to any circus or dance or what function will be exempt. The value of the ticket is not more than. The entry for a musical performance of rupees 750 per person was attended by 200 people. What will be the taxable value? So there are very easy questions that have been asked. So I'll kind of close it now with end polling. So anybody still wants to wait, just maybe another 1 minute. I wanted to quickly frame one question. We have just 5 minutes to go. Just frame one question based on the understanding which you had. I just wanted to frame one specific question. And I repeat, the 500 rupees is, once you cross the 500 rupees, the wording used in the law is if it is not more than 500, it is exempt. If it is more than 500, entire amount is taxable. If the wording used was up to 500, then it's different. The wording used is not more than 500. The government has, whether they're good or bad, they use a lot of different words in using the law. They could have made it simplified. So I'll now discuss the answers. Shall we discuss the answers now? Meanwhile, I want others to kind of finish a question, one or two questions from your side, then we will close it. So I'll end the polling now. So now let me share the results. We'll now discuss the answers. Now, first point, services provided to BCCI by an individual player as a player, referee, participating. We said it's exempt. Okay, it's a recognized sporting event. BCCI is a recognized sports body, hence exempt. Of course, they have not mentioned whether it's a recognized sporting event, but we assume that to be a recognized sporting event. Then service by an individual such as selectors, 100% people got it right, taxable. On this one, little confused answer. Receipts from sports academy to coach young players. Now you tell me when this will be exempt. Some people have said exempt, some people is taxable. When do you think it will be exempt? By sports academy to coach young players. We said coaching in sports is exempt. But who has to do that? That also we discussed. We insisted that point quite clearly. We saw examples of a school and what we should see as a legal entity. All those points we discussed on this point. So it is not for any person, but rather it should be by a registered trust. Yes, correct. So of course, some people might have got confused with registered trust or not. You would have made an assumption and given the answer. Fair enough. I give it to you. Next, receipts from acting as brand ambassador for corporate client. Yes, it is taxable. Perfect. 100% got it right. Services by a recognized sports body to another recognized sports body. Perfect. It is exempt. We have specifically seen this point. Vijay, who is an actor by profession, has charged rupees 1,20,000 rupees for appearing in a TV serial. It is straight away taxable because brand ambassador. Okay, now, okay, they didn't use the word brand ambassador. It's a good, I missed that one. There's no brand ambassador, but again, for actor, we never saw any exemption. Okay, okay. What we saw as exemption, only an artist in classical or folk forms of music, dance, drama. Only they have been given exemption. So, okay, drama is exempt, but it should be classical forms of drama, not film. Film is not considered as a classical form. Okay, so that's taxable. Okay, next one, entry ticket 4 lakh rupees. Many people have got it right. It is taxable because 800 rupees means the entire amount is taxable. We gave exemption only up to 500 rupees, 500 rupees per person. So entire amount is taxable. The next question, true. Everybody got it right. Straightforward. Last, ninth question, 500 rupees, perfect. It is taxable. More than 500 is taxable. Okay. For circus and all, it is more than 500. Not more than 500 is, now you can see here the word, not more than 500. The exact word in the law. If it is up to 500, it's different. Okay. Now, these are all the ways they ask questions in the multiple choice in the examination. So we have to be very careful with the kind of words which is being used in the examination. The entry ticket for a musical performance was 750 per person. It was around by 200 persons. What will be the taxable amount? The entire 1,50,000 rupees. What 750 into 200? Entire 1,50,000 would be taxable. Okay. So because only 500 rupees is exempt. So I think some of us are given none of the above. I'm not sure why it is none of the above. But this entire amount of 1,50,000 rupees would be taxable value under GST. Okay. So with this, we will close for this poll. Now it's your turn now. Maybe one of you can ask your question, one or two people, then we will close it. Quick, anybody who wants to kind of put forward your question for others, you can put it now. It's your time. Anyone? I know it's quite difficult kind of to sit for about 2 hours, 2 hours, 15 minutes, very difficult. I know it's quite easy to speak on the other side because I just keep speaking. But from your side, you need to type, write, listen, ask questions, and not to sleep. So many things are there, or not to listen to others. It's quite tough, especially this virtual one. But again, anybody who wishes to ask questions for others, you can field it one. Let's see how the people are responding. Or you can even unmute yourself and ask your question. It's open. Sir, it's already 8:30 and we are kind of ready to close. Okay, so I think I believe we will close it for now. Maybe you can note down one or two questions from your side. Tomorrow we have another session. Okay, of course, the next session we still have a few more exemptions to go. But again, tomorrow we have given the topic as valuation under GST. Okay, how do we value? What key points you should take? What are the legal points? Specific cases, how the valuation works, how practically it is applied. So that's what we are going to discuss tomorrow. So that's not related to exemptions. So we will discuss about valuation tomorrow. I hope you had a good session today, and please do share your feedbacks so that we can kind of also improve ourselves, and also share about this to your friends so that they can also get benefited from this. and we will catch up tomorrow on valuation and MCQs, multiple choice questions on this particular topic is already up on the website. We have about 200 questions on just on this topic alone. Those who are writing examinations, those who want to just evaluate yourself, just log into the Google Classroom. Whatever mail ID you have already shared with us, if you have already attended our last session, you would have already given the link. If you have not attended the last session, we will share you a link to your mail ID tomorrow. You can log in and you can answer those questions and evaluate yourself. On point is we do have given reasons also, and I must thank my teammates Padma, then Kanmani, Shobita, and Abhinaya for supporting me on this particular developing of MCQs. Thank you so much, and thank you all. Have a great evening tonight. We will catch up tomorrow. Thank you so much, and we will close it for now. Thank you. We will discuss the doubts. You can also bring a lot of questions for tomorrow, your own set of MCQs. If you wish to, you can share those MCQs and let others answer it, and maybe use it for future also. Thank you so much.